Hi and welcome to the Minisport workshop. Today we're having a look at a Hydrolastic to rubber suspension kit. This is when you convert from the Hydrolastic suspension, which has reliability issues, over to the rubber. If you come over here and have a quick look, Lucian will run us through a few of the components that we're using today.
So we've got our Evo cones. We recommend these over our standard ones. We're running poly boot, ball and cups. We've got our brackets for our shocks and our stub axles, all to convert it from the hydro to the shock. Here we've got the KYB gas struts. We do sell this kit as well with the original oil type shocks, but we do generally recommend the gas strut.
Right, so today we've got a little Mark II Austin that we're doing the conversion on. This car here has had some reliability issues as far as the suspension dropping over a period of time. As much as I love the Hydrolastic suspension, it's just time to be replaced to something a little bit more reliable, and this is where the Hydrolastic suspension falls and the rubber is reliable. So we're going to get into this job. We're going to show you a few key points when you do this job, such as when we play around with the top arms, when we remove the Hydrolastic bags, when we install the new rubber cones. So we look forward to showing you a little bit more later on. All right, we've currently got the Hydrolastic pump just draining the fluid. You'll see it connected up into the fitting there. So that's done. We're right around the back end. We've started pulling it apart. Hydro bag in there. So got to get in there. When we're here, it's also really good just to check those rear trailing arms and just make sure there's no play in those bushes, because we've got to take that out to replace this stub axle. This stub axle has a pin through it there, whereas the shocker is going to require a 3/8 thread. So that'll be pressed out. You'll see that a little bit later. As we move to the front, we've got the hydro bag up there. You can see the boot's just off. There's also buried inside of there, you probably can't see it, I'll try and get a photo of that a bit later. There's a little plate in there with 2 screws. We'll get in there and get that out to get your, oh, you can just see it. I don't know if you can see it in that shot. So yeah, getting that out isn't a 5-second job, as I'm sure you can appreciate. If we run around to this side, much just well, exactly the same. Up here, we've got, you can just see them under the tar and mud. We've got a little bit of, we've got some threads there. The threads are 1/4 National Fine, and they're buried into there. So that'll hold the top shocker bracket. Yep, we'll update you a little bit later as we go on.
Okay, so we have the arm out now. So we just had to remove the snubber rubber. You just undo the bolt on that side, and then you can slide the shaft out and remove the whole arm assembly. Once you get to that, you can see the 2 holes in there. They hold this plate, which will hold the hydro bag up into there. So you just need to remove the 2 screws from that, remove that from there, and then undo the hydro bag at the top, and then you can pull that out from there. And if you have a look down up in there, you can see that there are the tabs that hold that bag in, which will need to be hammered back so you can get a rubber cone in. So as you can see, we've knocked in the tabs on the 4 corners. It's a bit hard to see exactly, so we'll come over to this one and you'll be able to see what they were originally. So if you have a look up in there, you can see that the tabs sit in. So these are quite tricky to get to, and they are quite hard to knock back, but I recommend using a series of tools. Hammer with a long punch can get one, using a pry bar that you can smash on the end as well, and also using a big pipe just with a block of wood, and you can just lever up and lever in there and actually push the tabs in. They're not very strong, so it doesn't take much force to bend them back. So here we have the 2 arms. We have the original hydro arm that came out the car, and we have the brand new arms for dry suspension that we sell. You can run the hydro arm, but if you have a look here, the ball and cups actually do sit in a slightly different spot. The dries sit a bit further back than the old hydro ones. You can run these, but it does put quite a bit of stress on this high-low bolt, and it can bend it. So we do recommend to change to the dry arms. We also do recommend with the ball and cups is just to run a bit of wire over the ball, over the boot, and that will just hold that boot onto that cup so it doesn't peel off and dust get in. Okay, so we're fitting the arm in. I recommend just wrapping the seal over the top of the arm just for a moment, easier to slip down later. And on the other side, have the seal with the thrust washer in. Then you put the arm through, already in there. That makes it just easier to get on. It's a bit of a task to get it in. You also need the cone in, but you can get this started and get the high-low under, push the cone up. It's not too much stress on the ball and cup. You can do this job without a spring compressor. It is a little bit harder, but it is possible. And once you get that up in there, then you can start getting it in. It takes a little bit of fiddling, but you can eventually get it around, keep that seal in place. I've just knocked it out, but and then you should be able to get to what's on the other side, which is it all in and in place. So we've got all the arms here stripped down. I've removed all the brakes, had to drain all the brake fluid. Don't have to take the backing plate off necessarily, but it just makes it easier when you're removing the stub. Also gives us a chance to clean it. I've removed the brake line and the handbrake cable. Can't remove this in car, but you can undo the top spire clip, and then once you're planning to remove the arm, you can just slide that out. That's the easiest way. The nut on the back of the trailing arm on the inside has been removed, so we can slide it out. And I've just removed the nuts holding the retaining on. I've just got one bolt holding it in, and I also recommend to crack this nut now while you've got purchase, because it's a lot harder to do on the bench.
Now with the rear arm out, you can quite clearly see the hydro bag there. It's loose. It does twist in, and you can see the little tab on the bag there, and that locks into that ring, that plate. We're going to need to knock that tab back a bit to allow the rubber cone to sit in there and sit nice and flat.
So you just need to knock them back so you can get a rubber cone in. So with a series of punches, you can knock that in, and the front one here, you can just use vice grips and pull that in all the way, and then once it's all done, you should be able to snug your cone in like that. So to get rid of the spring, to replace it with the shock, we need to remove the tanks. If you've got a single tank, that's a bit easier. Unfortunately, we've got a twin tank here, so that means both have to go. So I've drained the fuel into a jerry can just from the fuel pump down below. These tanks are now empty. I'm just going to lean them back and then get my hands in. You can do this without draining the tank. You can just undo this strap and you can lean the tank, although it does hurt a lot to get your hand round here. So I do recommend just taking the effort to drain the tank, and then you can move it all the way out the way. Get to it a lot easier. Alrighty, so we have the arm mounted in the press here. The best place to push this against is just the flat bits on the back. Sometimes there's a bit of casting, but it's generally going to sit all right. We've got the pin ready to go. It just pushes through this way. There's a circlip on the back, so there's only one way it can go. Then we've got the new pin here to go in. Just make sure these threads are left hand and right hand, depending on the right hand side. So this one, right hand thread, right hand trailing arm. So they've just got to make sure they go together, but that just pushes through the back. So we'll see how much force this one's going to take to get out. Sometimes they can be a bit rusted in. This one's actually moving very easily. Its brother went off with quite a bang, so that all comes out quite nicely. And we should be there. Easy done. So assembly is just a reverse of disassembly. We're just using an old gudgeon pin here just to protect the thread on the inside. But once you start pressing it, it should start and find its seat, and then just be able to send it home. And you're just looking to get that circlip, just press straight into that slot on the arm. So now we're looking to the reassembly stage. I've cleaned up the subframe while it's all open. It's easy to scrape out all the dirt in there. It's also a great spot for rust to start, so it's best just to clean it out. So we've got the cone mounted in, we've got the shock just loosely in, just to hold the pin once we've got the arm in. I've got new hose in, handbrake cable just sitting down, and the teardrop bump stop removed. You can just keep the bolt in there, the arm doesn't hit it, but the actual bump stop itself needs to come out. Another recommendation I have is just to run a tap just through the subframe mounting bolts, as it's just a bit harder to get in sometimes. So now we just need to put the arm in. Okay, so just to fit this in, you just got to get over the shock and slide it past where that teardrop bump stop would go. Then once you've got it in there, you can lift it up into the cone and slide this up onto the shock. That back bolt in there on the trailing arm can then go into its slot. And from there, you can start mounting it all up. But that will just sit in there from now on, so you can take your time. So with the bump stops that come on the arms, with the hydros, they're needed because there's no actual bump stop, but with the dry suspension like this, shock absorber works as your bump stop, so you don't actually need these. This one's cracked, so we're just going to leave it off. You could leave it on just as an extra bump, but it's not necessary. So finishing up here, we've got our hydro bags all out. We've got ones that we've replaced previously, but they'll go again. We can finally see where the leak was. This hose starting to disintegrate, and this is starting to get pretty common for these hydro bags. Unfortunately, they're all getting 50, 60 years old, and they're all starting to crack. And if you have a look here, you can see the difference between obviously the original hardline and the later replacement nylon lines. Some of it was replaced with nylon lines, some of it was still the original hard lines, but that's all out now, so that's all in there.
Hope you enjoyed that. The car's now back up on its wheels. You got good suspension height. The Hydrolastic suspension has all been replaced with a rubber. The cones will settle in a little bit. They just take a little bit of time. We'll take it for a few test drives over some speed humps locally here. Probably need to give it a little adjust here or there, but overall, it's all back up and running and looking great. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed.
We do like to have fun here at Minisport.